Crime rose in 2015 in Los Angeles, the first increase in 12 years. Violent crime spiked about 20% in the nation's second largest city. Property crime was up 10%.
The beefs now are majority on internet. Most of the beefs are going now because of someone said something and they're really tough behind a camera and a keyboard.
I got the paperwork I recently received with the Dell Dog wiretap transcript where they talking about that after he got hemmed up, Wack 100 get hemmed up, he admits to it. He admits to also not just being hemmed up by the LAPD doing the Biggie investigation that the movie's about, but he admits that he goes to the federal building on Wilshire.
The night of February 10th, 2008, a man by the name of Robert Ross went into a convenience store in West Hollywood. He was then kidnapped at gunpoint and was forced to drive to a home in South Central Los Angeles, in the territory of the Main Street Mafia Crips.
Shutterbox is the nexus to this whole investigation.
I like to say gang banging because I'm one that don't gang bang no more, but just say a real, true, dedicated, delivered gang banging, and on the level of doing everything right, and right means the way that God wants me to do.
I'm back with another video. We are still on the West Coast with this one, this time with an official OG who was highly respected among his peers. So tap in. This one is going to be fire. The Dell Edward Rouse, aka Dell Dog, a 50-year-old black man, was shot and killed on Wednesday, July the 8th of 2015 in the 10,000 block of South Broadway in Broadway, Manchester, according to Los Angeles County Coroner's records. Shortly before 11:30 p.m., Dell Dog was outside of an apartment complex talking to other people when an argument ensued. Then thereafter, a man pulled out a rifle and shot Dell Dog to death. The gunman then fled in an SUV. Dell Dog was pronounced dead at the scene at 11:37 p.m. according to coroner's records. On July the 26th of 2015, Michael Rouse, pastor of the Wrecking Crew for Christ Church, was faced with the biggest challenge of his life. Although Michael had officiated at hundreds of funerals, he was unable to write the eulogy for that Saturday service, which was his little brother's funeral. People packed the pews and aisles tightly for Liddell Edward Rouse, who was shot to death not far from the church where his funeral was being held. Those who couldn't fit inside the New Temple Missionary Baptist Church listened from the lobby or waited outside for a chance to say their goodbyes. Michael Rouse gave a fiery sermon about recent violence in the neighborhood, tearfully stating that this day would not be overshadowed by gangbanging. The audience was filled with people who had personal stories about Liddell Rouse, aka Dell Dog, a former gang member who created a foundation to help children and became known as the Street Apostle. Several parents mentioned his work in the outreach program Kids for Life Youth Center, while others praised Dell Dog's ability to defuse dangerous situations. Earlier that same day, Michael Rouse told a story about a special gift, a custom yellow two-seater tricycle. He had asked his brother to make the tricycle several weeks before, in which Dell Dog presented it to him on July the 8th. The reflector on the front handlebars glimmered in the afternoon sun. A stereo mounted under the padded black seat was complete with a cassette of Amazing Grace for Michael to listen to as he rode around South LA. For Michael, it was one of the nicest things Dell Dog had ever done for him. Dell Dog had built many other custom bikes for other people, but Michael was proud to have something made for him by his little brother's hands. That night, Michael went to serve at a convalescent home in mid-Wilshire as Dell Dog met with some friends. Less than 2 hours later, Michael received a call saying his brother had been shot. Within half an hour, Michael was looking at police police tape at the intersection of Broadway and Century Boulevard. Michael hurried toward his little brother as onlookers began to scream that Dell Dog was already dead. Michael stopped in the middle of the road and dropped his phone. A few seconds passed as he processed the scene as tears began to roll down his face. It is these turn of events that brings us to our story. Liddell Edward Rouse, born in 1964, grew up in the Broadway, Manchester neighborhood, the sixth of 10 children. Unbeknownst to many, Dell Dog was a mama's boy, but grew closer to his older brother Michael as they moved through middle school and high school. Dell Dog, almost 7 years younger than his older brother Michael, often followed his brother's path. They often worked on bikes and go-karts together on the weekend. Dell Dog's older brother Michael joined a gang when he was only 17 years old. 5 years later, at the age of 15, is when Dell Dog would join. Dell Dog would be charged with various crimes, including assault and robbery, as well as being accused in a 2008 kidnapping case that was later dropped. That we will visit later in this video. Dell Dog was a prominent member of the 84 Main Street Mafia Crips and founder of 4 Life Records, also known as 4 Life Family and Mafia for Life Car Club. Dell Dog grew up on the east side of South Los Angeles, formerly known as South Central LA, in the area that was dominated by the Main Street Mafia Crips. The Main Street Mafia Crips, MSMC, are an infamous street gang located on the east side of South Los Angeles, California. It is said that the Main Street Mafia Crips originated in the 1970s. The gang consisted of 2 subsets, known as the 84 Main Street Mafia Crips and the 98 Main Street Mafia Crips. The Main Street Mafia Crips fall under the Mafia Crips umbrella, along with the Fudgetown Mafia Crips and the Bluegate Mafia Crips, as well as the 99 Watts Mafia Crips. The Main Street Crips are known to rock yellow or gold, along with the traditional blue, to show their affiliation with the Crips. The 1988 Main Street Mafia Crips originated around 98th Street and Main Street, between Colden Avenue and 104th Street. The 110 Freeway Harbor and San Pedro Street acts as their borderline. Their ops are mainly the Q102 East Coast Crips, 97 Gangster Crips, and 112 Broadway. The 84th Street Mafia Crips are located around 84th Street and Main Street, between San Pedro and Broadway Boulevard. The 84th Street Mafia Crips are smaller than their counterpart, the 98 Main Street Crips. Despite their size, the 84 MSMC are known for their brutal reputation of violence. Their main ops are the Mad Swan Bloods and the 87 Gangster Crips. In the 1990s, Dell Dog became known for his relationship with celebrities in the entertainment world, especially his close friendship with retired professional basketball player Shaquille O'Neal, aka Shaq. In the early 2000s, Dell Dog and his record company 4 Life Records released a string of music, including mixtapes such as 4 Life Mixtape Volume 1 and Bases Loaded. These albums commonly featured well-known established artists such as The Chill of Compton Most Wanted, Trey D and Goldie Loke of the East Siders, and CPO Boss Hogg of Death Row Records. On February the 11th of 2008, Dell Dog and several other men affiliated with the Main Street Mafia Crips were accused of kidnapping, robbing, and torturing Robert Ross, aka Stutterbox, a former business partner of Shaquille O'Neal, who allegedly threatened to expose a sex tape of Shaq cheating on his wife with several women. Stutterbox walked into the Los Angeles Police Department 77th Street Division and told police he was kidnapped. Stutterbox also told authorities that the kidnappers were acting on behalf of Shaq when he was abducted at gunpoint on the Sunset Strip in West Hollywood. The music producer and former gang member known as Stutterbox, who accused Shaquille O'Neal of being behind the alleged kidnapping by the criminal street gang, the Main Street Crips, was classified as an undesirable informant by the LAPD in early 2010, according to internal police records reviewed by the LA Times. It's no secret that Robert Ross, aka Stutterbox, who testified that he was kidnapped, assaulted, and robbed by members of the Main Street Crips gang after he claimed to have a sex tape of Shaq, worked as an informant for a federal task force that was targeting the gang around 2006. Stutterbox testified at a preliminary hearing that the gang members kidnapped him on the night of the Grammys in February of 2008 and demanded that he return a reported sex tape featuring Shaq. However, Shaq was not named as a defendant in the case. The spokesperson for the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office said that the sex tape didn't actually exist. It was all just a bluff. Attorney Vincent Oliver, who represented Eddie Hill, aka Lil West, one of the gang members accused in the attack, said that the financial dispute was over artist Ray J, brother of R&B singer Brandy.
Word is you got a co-CEO and you also signed your sister Brandy. Yeah, Brandy on the label now. Shorty Max on the label right here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we got two.
Word on the street was that Stutterbox introduced Ray J to Shaq's record label and was supposed to receive 50% of the proceeds. When Stutterbox didn't get the money that he was owed, he allegedly told Shaq through a third party that he had a sex tape of him with other women. 2 weeks later, Stutterbox was robbed and kidnapped, allegedly by members of the Main Street Mafia Crips gang. Stutterbox was once a member of the same gang himself, but was working as a music promoter at the time of the altercation. Liddell Rouse, aka Dell Dog, allegedly led 6 of the gang members in tracking down Stutterbox in West Hollywood, California on the night of the Grammys. Stutterbox was allegedly forced at gunpoint to drive his Rolls Royce to Dell Dog's home. It was then that Dell Dog allegedly asked Stutterbox for the sex tape and stole his diamond chain, Rolex watch, diamond earrings, and $15,000 in cash, according to the criminal complaint. However, in 2011, the judge dropped the charges against the 7 Main Street Mafia Crips. This story gets even wilder. Deuce M's, owner and operator of the Active Chuck's YouTube channel, would expose the Title III wiretaps on his platform.
Okay, so where we was at? Okay, so at some point you get a phone call from Wack 100, Cash Jones, and when he contact you, what did he contact you concerning?
He wanted to reach out to Dell Dog, rest in peace, and he wanted to give Dell Dog some information that he had gotten from Stutterbox, right? It's like he was getting information from Stutterbox on what his plan was and what the get down was gonna be, and he wanted to talk to the homie and talk to him. And Dog wasn't getting on the line with him, and he kept blowing me up because he wanted me to get him on the line.
Smart man. Rest in peace to Dell Dog, man. So he's talking about the phones is being compromised. Is that one of the things that he told you?
Well, the homie Dell Dog never trusted dude. You follow me?
Right.
So Dog didn't know was the lines compromised or was they wired up for sound or not. He just wasn't gonna chance it. You follow me?
Right.
But it was later on. It was later on after they took the case to they was taking it all away because the homie ain't had no choice. You know, he was facing a life sentence, so he had to take it all away. And with all the lawyers that was involved, they was able to get the discovery, and that's when we found out that the lines was compromised.
And as soon when you get the discovery, was part of that the actual wiretaps? The
whole transcript. I got the whole transcripts. The whole transcripts of the whole wiretaps.
And do you, in that paperwork, do you see your conversation with Cash Jones in them transcripts?
That was the initiating. That was the initiating when they started recording.
Right. Right. And how did they refer to Cash Jones?
In the paperwork they put him as Back, BACK. And
correct.
I kept asking the lawyer, like, who the fuck is? I ain't talked to no Back. And they said, nah, that's Wack. But they put him as Back because he a blood. So it's Back. And I said, oh, okay.
And was this Back also referred as confidential source number 2?
Yes, sir.
Correct. Well, man, I'm glad that the truth was able to come out. And it's sad.
But bigger than that, but bigger than that, homie, right? You know, I watched dude, man. He said some things about the big homie Shaq, you know, that wasn't true. He said some things like he been trying to destroy the big homie Big U name, and I'm seeing and watching this. And I called the big homie U. We was talking. I said, yo, when you get into Atlanta, man, come see me. Because I had what I had for years. And when I gave it to the homie, I said, man, you read it. Because it was a big-ass textbook of shit. And the homie just sided with what was right. He said, I can't fuck with dude no more. And that was the end of that.
Until Wack started attacking, and that's when Wack started attacking him with false allegations and all of this online weird shit, right?
Correct, because the homie Big U asked me why I didn't fuck with the nigga, and I said, when you pull up, I'm gonna show you. I want you to read it. And when he read it, he was like, oh, okay, I see why you don't fuck with the nigga. I can't fuck with the nigga. And that was it.
Wait, how long was it from when you first got it that you let you in Atlanta to show him the work?
I got the paperwork from the attorneys probably in, I want to say 12 or 13, because it was a series of, you know, remember the incident happened in 07, 06, 07. But Box had went to prison. He called a drug case, so he went to prison, and they waited to almost the last month of the statute of limitations to go get the homies from Main Street. Right. So it had been about a 5-year period from the time that had happened to the time that they came and got the big homies.
The internet would explode as these transcripts would reveal Cash Jones, aka Wack 100, role in the Main Street case, one of which would earn him the name CS2BACK. In a desperate attempt to clear his name, Wack 100 would enlist the services of former detective Greg Kading, falsely claiming him to be the lead detective on the Main Street case. Anyone with half a brain knows that the internet is undefeated, as scandalous Los Angeles will wipe the floor with Wack 100, dissecting Greg Kading's every word.
Now, Greg, this isn't about you. This is about Wack. I understand you have to do what you gotta do, but if he can bring you on Clubhouse to tell us all that stuff, I feel I should be able to ask some questions so the people can be informed. So again, this has nothing to do with you. This is about Wack.
Yeah, I get it. No, and again, I'm not trying to get in the middle of whatever bullshit is going on between Wack and whatever bullshit's going on with Starbucks. I don't give a fuck about that beef. Whatever it is, they'll figure it out. I'm just going to tell you investigatively, we would have listed Wack, Cash Jones, in our paperwork. He would have been like target 1, and his phone would have been target 1. And so when we were looking at him, we used particular language in our paperwork. So if we're writing the wiretap affidavit for his phone, we would say Cash Jones, also known as Wack. You were utilizing target number whatever, which would be his phone. I think it was some 661 phone number. And that's just the language. Nowhere within the paperwork related to the investigation of Cash Jones was he ever mentioned as a CS organization.
Okay. Now, Greg, we're talking about the case StudiBACK had against Shaquille O'Neal and the 7 Main Street Crips. When Wack brought you on Clubhouse, he asked you what would he have been referred to as in the paperwork. If Wack had nothing to do with Dell Dog, Shaq, or any of the Main Street Crips, why would his name be being referred to in the paperwork at all?
So again, this is completely different investigation. We have to be real careful that we don't cross over these ideas, because when I said he would have been mentioned in the paperwork, if we're talking about Cash Jones's case, then we may have mentioned a CS, which would have been Stutterbox, saying these things about Cash that we investigated. There's that. Now, if Cash is asking me if his name was in the Main Street case, no, it wasn't.
So we all know that Greg is not being truthful when he says that. We can clearly see Wack's government name, Cash Jones, all in this case. Hey, Christopher Loves boys, this shows you why you can't believe everything the police say. This also shows you that the police are protecting Wack, as they would any other confidential informant that's in good standing with them, unlike Stutterbox. But I want you to hear what Greg says right after he said Wack was not in the Main Street case at all.
There was no mention of Cash in the Main Street case, other than when he's trying to get a hold of Mark Stevens and in order to tell him that Box has been compromised.
Yeah, and that's what the wiretap transcript said CS2BACK, or Wack, was calling Dell Dog to do. Not Dell Dog, but Mark Stevens.
See what you just did, though?
Yeah, I said Dell Dog.
You said CS2BACK. It doesn't say that, does it?
Yes, it does.
Doesn't it say CS2BACK?
Yes, it says CS2BACK.
Okay, well, do you know what you just said?
What did I say?
CS2BACK.
I meant CS2BACK.
Because in your mind, and bear with me, no offense here, but I think you've already come to the conclusion that Back is Wack, and that's why that's such an easy mistake to make.
Well, the reason I think Wack is CS2BACK is because that's who Mark Stevens said he was talking to.
Nobody's disputing that. Nobody's disputing that Mark Stevens is saying that Wack is who he was talking to.
But he's saying that that's Back. He is saying that Back is Wack.
How does Mark Stevens put that together? Show me how Mark Stevens has anything to substantiate that Back is Wack.
In the paperwork they put him as Back, B-A-C-K, and I kept asking the lawyer, like, who the fuck is? I ain't talked to no Back, and they said, nah, that's Wack, but they put him as Back because he a blood, so it's Back. And I said, oh, okay.
And was this Back also referred as confidential source number 2?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so no offense to Mark, he doesn't know any better. But when we're writing official police reports, we don't play the game. We don't change language or change spelling because we are, part of the gang culture. We're not going to put Wack. We're going to put Back because he's a blood, not a crip, and we don't. That's not how we operate. We don't. That's gang shit. We don't write as gangsters. We write as police officers and try to be as specific as possible.
Greg is saying they try to be as specific as possible, and that they don't do things like that. But we're all looking at a wiretap transcript where they did exactly that. They put a person named Back in the paperwork, and no one knows who Back is.
We don't change things in order to... So if Mark Stevens is thinking that, oh man, the cops just put this in there this way because he's a blood and not a crip, it's not how it works.
I hear you, Greg. But even without them doing that, the conversation with Mark Stevens and Dell Dog did actually take place. And Mark Stevens is saying the person who called him looking for Dell Dog's phone number was Wack. Mark said he doesn't know anyone named Back, so why would they put some fake person that Mark has never ever talked to in the transcripts?
No, I get that. See, we are totally in agreement. The conversation is Wack, obviously. The conversation is Wack, obviously. But this explanation of Wack being Back, there's nothing to substantiate that other than...
Now I'm gonna pause right here because I want to make sure you guys didn't miss what just happened. I told Greg that Mark Stevens said he doesn't know anyone named Back. So I asked Greg why would they put somebody in the paperwork that Mark Stevens doesn't know and has never ever spoken to in his life. I'm gonna play it again so you can hear how he evades my question. I hear you, Greg, but even without them doing that, the conversation with Mark Stevens and Dell Dog did actually take place, and Mark Stevens is saying the person who called him looking for Dell Dog's phone number was Wack. Mark said he doesn't know anyone named Back, so why would they put some fake person that Mark has never ever talked to in the transcripts?
No, I get that. See, we are totally in agreement. The conversation is Wack, obviously. The conversation is Wack, obviously. This explanation of Wack being back, there's nothing to substantiate that other than a misunderstanding of how the police write reports, or a misunderstanding of a lawyer. Because I'm telling you, and I don't know how much more I can emphasize this, Cash Jones was not an informant on the Main Street case.
I'm with you on that, but you're agreeing that in the transcripts we have, it's Wack that Mark and Dell are talking about in the conversation they're having, right?
Yes. And I think Wack admits that. And I think Wack admits that.
No matter how you slice it, Wack 100 will forever be attached to the moniker CS2BACK